And good morning and welcome, everyone. Starting with Alex, Matt gave us a little bit of an introduction on InventWood, but can you tell us a little bit more? Why was it created and what does it actually do?
Yeah. Is this on here? Hello? So InventWood was founded out of some research that Professor Liangbing Hu did at University of Maryland. And what he did was he applied nanotechnology and physics to rethink how is wood translated into a building material. You know, wood is something that human beings have evolved with. We love wood, we're comfortable with wood. It's an intimate part of our lives, but it's had certain drawbacks in terms of it's not the strongest material. It's subject to breakdown from termites, from rot, which is fungus, so he was able to figure out how do we resolve some of the shortcomings of wood while preserving the natural aspect of wood and create a really beautiful material. And we think that this is really profound in terms of its impact for civilization as a whole. I mean, the technology is invented in America, but we really think it has global implications at a time when people are moving at a greater rate than ever before into cities which are in many ways concrete jungles, inhumane, which amplify social challenges and problems, and of course, create more climate change. And so we've been trying to figure out how do we bring this into the world in a way that has the most impact possible. I mean, as a company, we have to grow. We have to figure out a path to market. We're mostly scaling in North America, in the developed world, where there's some really great demand. We've had a lot of great press, as Matt mentioned, and so yeah, we think we have a pretty, interesting, positive path forward, but we're super excited that it can have some profound implications for the Pacific Islands countries, which are so unfortunately bearing the brunt of climate change. And we'll talk a little bit more about it, but I think there's tremendous opportunities for us to be working together to support, maybe highlight some of the systemic approaches which you guys are taking to how do we adapt to, how do we help mitigate climate change, the rising sea levels, and survive better as a species on this planet. So I think in a nutshell, that's what the technology is about. I think the one more thing that I will mention in terms of the technology and how we fit with Pacific Islands is, I think as your Prime Minister mentioned, finding values alignment is very important. And one of the reasons our technology works is because we take fibers, natural fibers, which are grown in the sun, cellulose fibers. They're naturally aligned, and we squeeze them together. We forge a material that is fundamentally much stronger because we are aligned. It's a real fundamental physical principle of the material, but also reflects the fact that we think that will create the most strength, the most value for your countries and for the world when we find that alignment in terms of value and direction.
Thank you. So I think from there, leading directly on to my next question and for Ambassador Tone, Tonga has a partnership with InventWood. What inspired you to go ahead and make this? Where do you see the synergies and the alignment with the technology that they're bringing in?
Well, thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Before I answer the question, let me just acknowledge the presence of my Tongan community here in Dallas, from Dallas. I'm very honored to be here with them. I've been here for a number of years attending EarthX events and the Island Resilience Summit, and they've demonstrated great partnership and collegiality in terms of supporting the delegation from Tonga. I just want to acknowledge them of not just the Tongan community, but also the Office of the Mayor, the police, and so forth, who have been very supportive of the visit of our leaders. And of course, acknowledge my counterparts, my colleagues from New York who are here. I'm very honored, Madam Moderator, with the presence of the CEO of InventWood. Invenwood was a company that we met last year. It was just rather unfortunate that we haven't really come into fruition in terms of our partnership, in terms of implementation, because every talk that you do, of course, that's very important. That's why we're here. We connect with potential partners. We try to pick up speed on things that we can align with. And I'm very glad that the CEO used that terminology, because it's very much true. It's true in his company in terms of compressing the wood and aligning the fiber and so forth to get what you call a superwood. But I think we can also learn from aligning our efforts, wherever they can find convergence. Of course, you may not align with everything in the world, but wherever there is convergence of efforts and values and ambition, it's a good thing. It's a force for good. So I just want to register that. And coming back to your question, we see value in the cooperation with Invenwood, although we're still working on it because the technology is there. And that's what we're looking for. We have shortcomings in the Pacific, whether it's about energy, Prime Minister talked about that, but it's through partnership, which is the very essence of the Island Resilience Partnership, which is the company that Matt Trenchant is the CEO of. But of course, the summit, the associated event that goes with the IRP, which really focuses on the value and the importance of partnership, which is SDG 17, Partnership for the Goal. Of course, there are assistance from aid and the developed world or global north, but we have blended finance, you have philanthropists, you have other partners. So partnership is very important. And in this venue of taxes, with the EarthX and the IRS, we see the potential for forming partnership. And certainly Invenwood is one of those. So it's a matter of developing that. They have the technology. We aspire to be a resilient Pacific country, along with my colleagues from Solomon Islands, Tuvalu, and Nauru. Resiliency, it's a key word. It's a key focus. It's a key priority that we should aspire for. And Invenwood being a company that has this technology, we see that as a way forward in terms of helping us to build resilient infrastructure for that part, at least. There are other aspects, of course, in terms of resiliency, but at least we see the convergence there. Our desire to build resilient infrastructure, they have the technology, we have the will to partner with them, and so it's a work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. And I think your emphasis on the word resilience made me got me to think about, when we're talking about climate, when we're talking about an era of change that we're going through, it is talking about how are we building resilience to come out through the end of it, at the other end of the tunnel. So Alex, my question to you is on those lines. Can you tell us a little bit more on the sustainability angle of the product and how this actually helps build resilience? You've said that it is withstanding, whether it's fungus, whether it's termites, but can you add a little bit more and tell us what does it actually do? What is the magic behind Invenwood?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think first off, it's important to understand the context that we're going into. Like, what are the problems that we want to be helping to solve? And I think my understanding is, you have in the Pacific Islands a challenge where you don't have a lot of indigenous building materials. You have trees, which if you build buildings out of them, they will tend to decay, rot within 10 years. You don't have a steel industry. You don't have concrete industries. So the Prime Minister was talking about all the aspects of things that have to be imported, and building materials is one of them. And so if, the other thing is, the storms that you get hit with, and that's a very meaningful challenge when you can have hurricanes that can be over 100 miles an hour, and how do you have materials that can survive those. So this is a piece of super wood right here. It's made of wood. I don't know if you can see it here. We talked about the line fibers already, but this becomes a fundamental building block of something that's super strong. It's natural. It's something that can be easily transported to the locations because it's 6 times lighter than steel. It can survive sea journeys because it's not going to be subject to rot as it gets transported. And because it's still a kind of wood, it can be more easily worked on site. So using traditional labor forces and people, things that are easy to access on islands. We don't need cranes to put these in place. You don't need a lot of exotic practices. We can use a lot of the tools and techniques, maybe adapted towards this, but I think it helps evolve culture, a culture of building, while providing a material that's resilient. So I'm not sure if I answered your question. And the reason that it's able to, you were asking a bit of technical question, the reason it's able to be so resilient and durable is because once we've compressed the material together, we've eliminated a lot of the porosity. The air, it's the air and the water that gets into the wood, which actually induces a lot of the rot that happens. And it's the weakness of the material which allows things like termites to get into it. The material is so strong, so durable, that it actually takes more energy to eat it than an insect would get out of it. So it has tremendous inherent protective properties.
Thank you. That's absolutely lovely to hear. And I was also, I was reading and it said it's 10 times more stronger than steel, or how many times is that?
It would be 10 times stronger than regular wood, roughly.
10 times strong, yeah.
And it would be up to 10 times the strength to weight ratio of steel.
Okay.
So we're similar strength to steel, but we have a much better strength to weight ratio of steel, which means that the buildings that you build with it would be much lighter. And therefore easier to build. People can move things into place as opposed to having to use machines to put them in place. And that can be meaningful on some of the very small islands that we're talking about.
Yeah, thank you. So Ambassador, for you, for the next step for this, if you wanted to take this partnership further, what would it be to sort of actually take it from this conversation into reality? What would you need, and what is the bridge that's lacking currently?
Well, I happened to meet up with the Prime Minister and the Minister for Infrastructure in February. There was a meeting convened by the Deputy Secretary of State, Mr. Landau, in partnership with the command of PACOM, to convene a meeting whereby they invited Pacific leaders. Unfortunately, not all the Pacific leaders were there, but some were there, to meet up with investors from America. And they were there. It was a good meeting. It was kind of similar with these, a space created by government at the government level. So they talked, and I met with the Minister for Infrastructure there. This is a relevant ministry back home to pick up speed on this proposed partnership with Invenwood. And so we agreed to have a meeting. So we are working on that to meet with their CEO. So Alex, hopefully I can talk more about this with you at the end of the panel discussion, so that we can have a meeting and pick up speed with my capital. But that's the way forward. The other way forward is skating. Remember, this is still new, and we really are very much attracted to the characters of the superwood. It's termite-proof, as the CEO was saying. Termite-proof, bulletproof, and also there are other qualities as well, but it's very attractive in terms of resiliency. So in terms of way forward, we're going to work very closely with my capital to try and build a pilot project. I think that's the way to go. You need to champion something to see its success. And then, of course, you can scale it up. You can propagate that success to other countries. And we have the chair of the Pacific Island Forum here, their ambassador, Jane Waitara. That's another connection. We can demonstrate success in a particular country. It can be Tonga, it can be another country. But then, of course, we need to scale up. That point was very covered very well by the Prime Minister. We need to, the scalability of project is something that you can connect well with the investors, because they're looking for scale. And I'm hoping to be able to also achieve that level, in my discussion with the CEO. But it'll be through the forum, partnership, and collaboration. So that's where we can gain some scalability by working as member states in the Pacific Island Forum. So with that, hopefully, Mr. CEO, we can pick up some more discussion after the panel to push this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ambassador, coming back to you, actually. We were talking about, of course, implementation in Tonga is the first step, but what are the challenges that you see in Pacific Island countries when it comes to infrastructure and building? And where do you think this can actually fit as a part of the solution? And especially, not, I mean, in Tonga, of course, but also in the Pacific countries around you.
Yeah, I think the Prime Minister covered it pretty well in terms of the differences in the Pacific region. Of course, it's one region, but it's made up of 3 sub-regions, Polynesian, Micronesian, and Melanesian. And of course, even with those 3 subdivisions, there are small states. But I'm not saying that to inhibit progress. It's just a recognition that there are different characteristics of different regions, but they can be turned into opportunities. So in terms of scalability, firstly, we have to work as a region, and the Forum, Pacific Island Forum Secretariat, this is very strategic, architectural in nature, so we have to go through them. There are relevant meetings of the economic ministers meeting. That's a relevant meeting to channel this to, and also the meeting of the officials, which is called Forum Officials Committee meeting. So there are channels to push this through, so that you can get the recognition at the forum. That way you can link directly to some good potential for scalability. In fact, when we visited the InventWorld company, the manufacturing company, last year in May, Alex, you might remember, I met with the ambassador of Fiji and also the ambassador of Papua New Guinea. These are 2 countries which have forestry, it's very healthy forestry. And they can provide lumber. Of course, InventWorld has the technology. So this could be part of the discussion, because at the end of the day, you have a company here in the US, it's so far away from the Pacific, but then of course you have to think about importation. Importation entails costs. And so we can also put on the table for discussion whether at some point in time in later, of course we need to find partners, to sponsor these investments. It could be ADB, it could be World Bank, it could be our own countries. But a possible establishment of some manufacturing countries in the Pacific, probably Fiji or Papua New Guinea, depending on the location, could be something that InventWorld could also look into. But again, this goes back to the scalability, because you have to transport these goods to places, and you need to lower the costs, much like what the Prime Minister was talking about in terms of the cost of fuel. You need reduction in costs, because that way you can have more money for people to address other things. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think finally for Alex, I think for people in the room, is InventFood out there? Can they sort of access it? Can they come to you and figure out how, if they wanted to use it in their personal lives? Or what does it sort of look like? What is the customer side of it look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, InventWood has launched commercially. We have customers. We're happy to have people engage with us, and happy to provide material for whatever building projects you have. In terms of our relationship with Tonga and the Pacific Islands Forum, we would love to move forward on just getting something going. If this is a demonstration of how quickly governments can move, we'd love to find a way to kind of show some quick wins. I mean, we can always talk about big strategies and so on, but the key thing is, what are the visions that we have around what does island resiliency really look like? And just start, demonstrating that we can get through roadblocks. I think part of the value of places like the Pacific Islands is they're small, and it's a crucible where you can bring together different kinds of solutions and demonstrate to the world how these things fit together, and that you can be more nimble in some of the bigger countries. So I think being able to demonstrate that ability to work with companies like ours is going to be very helpful for your countries in terms of bringing more ideas to the table, more companies who are really willing to and ready to invest our efforts in creating demonstrations of what's possible. And I'm really excited to do it, because I think fundamentally we should be doing it as a planet. We owe it to these countries, but at the same time we have to be able to work together to actually show some quick demonstrations that we can be really effective partners in moving it forward. So we're really excited about the next steps here.
All right, thank you so much. And with that, we're exactly on time. I think for the rest of the audience, I think you have our key takeaways. One is just that innovation in infrastructure is coming up, and InventFood is leading the change right there. And we're seeing bridges between how it is not just limiting itself currently to the United States and to North America, but also going to the places where we most need such innovations to reach. So thank you for taking the first step and the leadership on this. And hopefully you can find more synergies in the room and actually build this partnership going forward. Thank you.